Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, former President Trump and President Biden say they are preparing for a rematch this November. But former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley says her fight for the GOP nomination is not over. And Boeing CEO is doing damage control on Capitol Hill, meeting with lawmakers as safety concerns escalate.
Plus, rounds of rain stick around through Thursday. Your first alert forecast coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Voters in only 2 states have chosen who they want to be the next president, but it appears more and more likely that the 2024 presidential ballot will look just like the 2020 ballot, with former President Donald Trump taking on President Joe Biden. CBS's Natalie Brand is in Washington, D.C. with more.
After winning Iowa and now New Hampshire, former President Donald Trump says the race for the GOP nomination is effectively over.
When you win Iowa and you win New Hampshire, they've never had a loss.
The Biden campaign is also preparing for a rematch, saying they will run like the fate of democracy depends on it.
If I'm going to be in a fight, I want to be in a fight with you, the UAW.
The president, holding his second campaign event of the week, rallied a friendly audience of United Auto Workers as he tries to lock up political support from labor unions.
The UAW is endorsing Joe Biden for President of the United States.
While the president and former president are pivoting to November, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is vowing to keep fighting for the Republican nomination.
Most Americans do not want a rematch between Biden and Trump. The first party to retire its 80-year-old candidate is going to be the party that wins this election.
Haley will rally voters in her home state of South Carolina Wednesday night, but she trails Trump in the polls there.
The numbers in South Carolina are even worse for Nikki. The bottom line is simply this: we should start focusing our attention on the contrast between 4 years of Joe Biden versus 4 years of Donald Trump.
But as election season plays out, Trump still faces unprecedented legal challenges and a decision by the U.S. Supreme Court on whether he can remain on the ballot. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Now, the U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear arguments on February 8th for Trump's appeal of the Colorado Supreme Court decision to remove him from the ballot. That's the same day as Nevada's GOP caucuses. Yesterday's New Hampshire Republican primary set a record for the most votes ever cast in the contest. As of 8 a.m. this morning, CNN had tallied about 301,000 votes, surpassing the nearly 288,000 ballots cast in the 2016 contest. Previously, the most ballots ever cast in a New Hampshire presidential primary was roughly 300,000 in the 2020 Democratic contest. CNN estimates more than 320,000 votes will be cast this year in the Granite State's GOP primary when it's all said and done. Well, some of President Biden's top White House advisors will soon shift their roles to his campaign. The move comes as the Biden administration watches former President Trump's quick move to the Republican nomination. A senior Biden advisor familiar with the situation says Jen O'Malley-Dillion, who was Biden's 2020 campaign manager, will transition to become campaign chair. Senior advisor Mike Donilon, who will also move over to the campaign as its chief strategist. The shift in titles is set to take place in the coming weeks. The mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, declared victory yesterday in a second primary election. A judge ordered the redo after Mayor Joseph Ganim was accused of stuffing envelopes into a ballot box last September. Though Ganim declared victory, challenger Josh Gomes did not concede. He said he has not ruled out another run in the general election in February.
We are tracking some soggy and gloomy weather across the mountains on this Wednesday evening. Here's a live look at First Alert Pinpoint Doppler. And as you can see, some more widespread showers are likely in the Cumberland Valley, zooming into Laurel County, also down into Whitley County. And same story for Pulaski County, also into Wayne County and close to Interstate 64. Also the Mountain Parkway, some heavier pockets of rain not too far away from Campton for Wolf County into Rowan County, also stretching into Elliott County at this hour. Not as widespread in the Big Sandy Valley, a small chance of a few spotty sprinkles close to Pikeville and Pike County, but even there, some more showers are on the way as we go into tonight. Here is a live look from soggy Rockcastle County from I-75 at Mount Vernon. As you can see, some raindrops on the camera lens as more showers are likely as we go into this evening. Check out these temperatures for late January. Most of us still in the middle to upper 50s and some 60s in some areas, up to 65 in Pikeville. Also Harlan 57 for Manchester and London, and 62 over in Clintwood at this hour. More mild, also wet weather is on the way tomorrow. A little bit of a break on Friday, and then another system is looming for this weekend. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. Boeing's safety record is under an increasingly hotter spotlight. The company's CEO was on Capitol Hill today, meeting with lawmakers amid their concerns about the troubled 737 MAX 9 jet, just weeks after a door plug panel blew off an Alaska Airlines flight midair. CNN's Laura Aguirre has more on the Hill meeting and why Boeing will temporarily shut down one of its plants tomorrow.
Flight 1282 should never have happened. Boeing is better than this.
The CEO of Alaska Airlines taking Boeing to task as his grounded fleet of 737 MAX 9 jets undergo inspection following that terrifying in-flight blowout earlier this month.
We found some loose bolts on many of our MAX 9s. So those, yeah. So those are things that are going to be rectified through the inspection process.
Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun is on Capitol Hill Wednesday, called to a closed-door meeting with lawmakers who will likely press him for answers into the Alaska Air incident and for assurances that airlines and the flying public can trust Boeing's product.
I think that this hearing will illuminate what some of those challenges have been and how we can fix them and fix them quickly.
While Calhoun meets with congressional leaders, federal aviation investigators are scrutinizing Boeing's entire production process.
It really takes us to production, manufacturing, maintenance, those types of issues, and ensuring that the pieces are where they need to be and all the bolts are in place.
Federal inspectors are on site at Boeing's plant in Renton, Washington, where the 737 MAX 9s are made. Company execs plan to pause production at that facility Thursday to focus on quality control. While at an NTSB lab in D.C., the search for answers into the Alaska Airlines door plug failure continues.
You want to make sure we are getting the right answers to get to the right solutions. That's why it takes time.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Adding to Boeing's headaches, a Delta Airlines Boeing 757 headed to Bogota, Colombia from Atlanta lost a nose wheel prior to takeoff on Saturday, according to the airline and the FAA. Passengers were able to safely deplane and were bused back to the terminal, according to federal officials. 2 people are dead after a small plane crashed in Florida. The plane crashed in the waters off the Everglades. That's off Interstate 75 near the city of Weston near Fort Lauderdale. The plane took off from the North Perry Airport in the Pembroke Pines area yesterday evening. According to FlightAware, the identities of the 2 people killed in the crash have not been released. A gruesome story out of Southern California where the bodies of 6 people were found in the desert. Authorities say they were responding to a welfare check call when they found 5 bodies Tuesday in a remote area about 90 miles northeast of Los Angeles. Police said they found a 6th body today. Detectives have not released information about their identities or how they died. However, a number of bullet holes were seen in a vehicle at the scene. 2 children were released from a hostage situation at a St. Louis hotel today. Police say they received a phone call from a little boy who was locked inside the bathroom with his sibling. The child told police the man was fighting with their mother. The police were later able to get the 2 children out of the room. Now, their mother was not released and at last check was still being held against her will. The hotel was evacuated. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, losing weight and getting in shape is one of the most popular New Year's resolutions. How to spot misleading ads and subscription traps for weight loss products.
And we stay soggy in the short term, timing out more showers after this break.